Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. Today we are going to review another one of my Underdog best ball teams that I drafted while on vacation last week. And this one we are in the 5 slot. And as you can see in the first round, it goes Jamar Chase, Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley. This was shortly after the Justin Jefferson hamstring news comes out, but I personally am not overly scared of him. So getting Justin Jefferson at the 105, I am very ecstatic about. I think that is absolutely great value and could create a good pairing with our second round player that's, a little bit more rare. All right, and we are a couple picks away. I'm hoping for A.J. Brown to fall to us to kind of create that a little bit more rare Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown pairing, where Justin Jefferson's more at the beginning of the first, A.J. Brown's more at the beginning of the mid-second. But he does go off kind of 2 picks in front of me. So also hoping for Ladd for a similar type beat. Justin Jefferson Ladd start would be very, very rare, but Ladd goes right in front of us. And I've been weary to take Brock Bowers in the middle of the second round, just because I feel like you can get Trey McBride in the third, who I view Brock Bowers and Trey McBride very similarly. So I'm getting a full round discount on a guy like Trey McBride. But with that being said, almost go Jonathan Taylor to kind of keep an even balanced stack. But say screw it, let's go Tyreek Hill. I truly believe Tyreek could be the wide receiver 1 overall. That's in the realm of possibilities. So although Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill is not super, super rare, so I didn't hit that part that I was going for, I really think both of my guys could actually be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. So very happy with this start out of the 5-hole. All right, T. Higgins does fall to 27. That would have been a nice addition to the squad. But like I mentioned earlier, Trey McBride has been falling in these drafts, as he does fall to us here in the middle of the 3rd round. So we are ecstatic to get a stud tight end at 29. We have Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Trey McBride, all guys that I believe could be the number 1 at their specific positions. As we see George Kittle going off in the middle of the 3rd round at 31, I think Kittle's price has gotten a little overblown. I think we are absolutely drafting his top ceiling, even with all the injuries, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings with the calf. I just think Kittle's being drafted at his ceiling or even above it. I just don't think Kittle can be to the level of the Bowers and McBride group, but I digress. Obviously, some weird things going on. Cortland Sutton going at 32. Typically, he can make it back around to me at 44, if not later. So definitely an interesting draft. This is just a puppy draft, so $5 draft. So people are trying different strategies, different pairings. All right, so we are sitting here in the 4th round, hoping Kyren Williams falls to us. That would make for quite, a different combination of players. Kyren almost never makes it to this side of the board in the 4th round, but he gets sniped right in front of us. So we have to pivot a little bit. Couple of stud quarterbacks left. Tet McMillan, who I like very much. But last minute, we do divert and go Devonta Smith. And no, I do not think Devonta Smith is better than those other guys. But the play here is to try to grab him and then hope Hurts falls back to us in the 5th round. Considering the A.J. Brown guy is to the other side of me, I'm hoping that no one is going to take an unstacked Hurts, although I personally would absolutely do it due to his rushing upside, rushing touchdown upside alone. I would absolutely take Hurts unstacked. But with this selection of Devonta Smith, I'm hoping that no one else will. All right, and we are almost up. We have to sweat one more person for the Hurts selection, and we do. They go Kenneth Walker, so we get a sweet stack, grab Jalen Hurts, almost 9 picks after ADP. So we have absolute studly crew so far. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, with the stud Trey McBride, and then Jalen Hurts paired with Devonta Smith. Now, oftentimes, I do not like to grab an elite tight end and elite quarterback. I find that makes me a little bit weak at another position. For this one, it'll obviously be running back. With that being said, this is half PPR. Start 2 running backs, start 3 wide receivers, and a flex. So I'm kind of fine waiting a little bit on running back. Obviously, we are going to be a little bit more weak, but I just couldn't pass up the Smith-Hurts, stack there. And then I love McBride's value in the 3rd. So I was very pleased with this start and hoping I can make up for it later with some good running back values. All right. And so it's coming around to us in the 6th round. We've got a couple selections to us. Joe Mixon is kind of the last obvious guy in a tier, and this was prior to the foot injury news. So with that not being known, I would have been very, very pleased to get Joe Mixon as our RB1 in the 6th round, and he does fall to us, and this is, 8, 9, 10 picks past ADP on Joe Mixon. I know he has since fallen since the injury news, so this doesn't feel as good, but at the time, grabbing Joe Mixon as your RB1 in the 6th round felt very, very excellent, and then we are likely to have to grab our RB2 in the next round, or else it gets very, very thin after. All right, and then here in the 7th round, there's not really any good wide receivers I like, which is great. I usually don't see Joe Burrow fall this far, so that was very interesting. But David Montgomery is going to be a very, very solid RB2 option for us. Obviously, Gibbs is there, but if David Montgomery even gives, 75, 80% of his production from last year, I think he pays off, decently at his price. It won't be a bust by any means. So waiting until the 6th round to grab, our first running back, I think having Mixon Montgomery, as long as Mixon kind of bounces back from injury, I think this is a great start to our team. All right, we are a couple of picks away here in the 8th. Would love to kind of go back to grabbing wide receivers now. Now that we got our 3 studs in the beginning and kind of supplemented our running backs, we are up in a pick. Looking at Godwin, he goes right in front of us. So our secondary option is Jaden Higgins. I don't mind Michael Pittman. I had already kind of grabbed a fair bit of him. So I felt on this team, we wanted to get a little bit of youth, a little bit of potential rookie upside. So we did grab Jaden Higgins. I think he's a great addition to this receiver room of Jettas, Tyreek, and Devontae Smith. 3 veterans who we know are very, very solid. So if Higgins is kind of better than we're projecting, kind of busts out, becomes a great number 2 behind Nico Collins. So absolutely love Jaden Higgins. Probably a better fit for this team than Chris Godwin anyways. So definitely love Jaden Higgins at this value. All right, we are up in a couple of picks, and I'll be honest with you, Kyler would have been very tempting on our Trey McBride squad. Even though we did go Hurts early, it would have been hard not to grab him, but he does go 3 picks ahead of us, thankfully. But we do get Jordan Mason to fall 10 picks past ADP, which is an excellent addition to this team. A guy who actually has some upside in his own right. If Aaron Jones were to go down, he's getting a little bit older. All reports, Jordan Mason looks very, very solid in camp. We saw last year what he can do when he is the lead guy. So that's just the guy I was looking for to add to this team, where we have Mixon, Montgomery, and Jordan Mason at running back now. We're feeling definitely a little bit better, despite not grabbing one until the 6th round. All right, and we are now a couple picks away here in the 10th. As we look over at the players available, in my head, I'm thinking Mark Andrews, kind of 10 picks past ADP. Definitely solid value, but with grabbing McBride so early, probably doesn't make a ton of sense for us to grab our second here. Of course, we would be done at tight end for sure. So we were kind of scrolling to see who will be available at our next pick. We end up settling on Luther Burden, add another rookie wide receiver to the fold who could, if things break right for him, absolutely smash his ADP. And also maybe making a little play that what if Caleb Williams kind of falls to us and we get double values on our stacks. So hoping Caleb kind of falls to us at 125. That would be a sweet fall. All right, so Caleb goes at the turn there. We were not expecting to actually get him to fall back, although it would have been awesome. But Caleb goes, and then a string of tight ends here, 4 of them in 5 picks. So that definitely puts a hamper on grabbing our second tight end here. But with that said, we queue up Bashal Tutin, who we're expecting kind of a little bit of juice potentially late. But we ended up settling on the smarter play, grabbing J.J. McCarthy as our quarterback number 2, getting the stack with Jettas. So now our quarterback room is Hurts and McCarthy. So very happy with that. I think plenty of floor, plenty of upside, and both guys are stacked to our stud receivers. So very happy through 11 rounds so far. Subscribe! All right, so we are a few picks away here in the 12th. Not sure exactly what direction we want to go. We would be fine going a running back, wide receiver, or even grabbing our tight end too. I queue up a few of the running backs I don't mind in this range. All guys that I think either have paths to being the running back one, or for Rachaad White's case, I think he has, a decent floor. Like him more, obviously, in a PPR, because I think he's going to be the third down receiving back in Tampa Bay. So don't like him as much in this Underdog half PPR format. But we have a number of guys queued up. Don't mind going Dallas Goedert to add to our Philly stack, kind of be our tight end too. And then a couple of wide receivers that I don't mind as well. We are one pick away. Garendo goes at the 138, likely goes next. So we kind of have our picks. In my head, as much as I'm wanting to grab Kyle Williams, I end up taking Trey Benson, who obviously with the old James Conner there, he could be injured at any time. He has missed games. And although Trey Benson didn't look amazing as a rookie, I think he might get a little bit more involved in his second year. And God forbid something happens to James Conner, I think Trey Benson could be a 15 carry guy and provide a nice floor, especially for a 12th round pick, especially when we waited on running back till the 6th. All right, and it swings around to us in the 13th, a guy we were considering a round earlier in Dallas Goedert to kind of complete that Philadelphia stack is hopefully still on the board. We have to survive one more pick, but this guy already has 2 tight ends, so it would not make sense for him to grab them. With that being said, Dallas Goedert does fall to us, so we get another piece to our Philly stack. Go with Hurts, go with Devontae Smith. We grab tight end 2, Dallas Goedert. So we are feeling very, very good about this squad. So we currently have a 2-4-5-2 going. And honestly, we don't feel the need to grab another quarterback or tight end. If a value falls to us late, then that is totally fine. But we're feeling very, very solid. Now I just got to get some running back and receiver depth. All right, so it's coming around to us here in the 14th round. Would be happy to go running back or wide receiver here. There's the trio of quarterbacks in this range that we don't need, although all of them have fallen past ADP. And this was pre-news that Tank Bigsby is kind of leading that Jacksonville backfield. So if this draft were to happen today, I would totally have Tank Bigsby as my pick. But we queue up Adam Thielen, a vet wide receiver who are expecting some kind of decent production out of in that Carolina offense. And then we end up queuing Austin Eckler, pivoting to him, just wanting to solidify the running back room a little bit more. I know Eckler's not like the craziest, sexiest pick, but I think he can give you some viable weeks. Another guy you definitely prefer in full PPR to half PPR, but a projected good offense, who, Brian Robinson, he's not super, super scary. So I think Eckler's going to have his workload. Not an awesome pick, but we take Eckler just to give us a little bit more running back options there. All right, and it swings to us around here in the 15th round. Definitely thinking we should be going back to wide receiver. We got the 3 studs early, couple rookies in the middle rounds. So we are just looking for anyone who will probably give us, some decent viable weeks, cover some buys and whatnot. We end up settling on, the top wide receiver in ADP with Demario Douglas. A couple picks past ADP, but by all indications, Demario is going to be the slot guy in New England. And Drake May and him have had some great connection, it sounds like, through camp. So this kind of a price on a potential top target in New England, I'm very happy to have as our 6th wide receiver. Definitely like to grab a little Demario Douglas. All right, and the good news for us is no wide receivers have gone so far between our last pick and this pick so far. We are looking to grab a little bit more depth. So queuing up the top guys, Alec Pierce, Michael Wilson. I think Alec Pierce is kind of a big play waiting to happen, especially when A-Rich is under center, kind of willing to throw the deep ball. Definitely less likely that Daniel Jones is willing to throw the deep ball, as we've seen in his New York days. But Michael Wilson is a guy who really hasn't proven much, although he is the second option, third if you count McBride, in Arizona. But we do get Alec Pierce to fall to us. I think he can absolutely have big games, which in best ball is, obviously awesome. You can use some of his long touchdown, 2 touchdown games, especially cover bye weeks. So I like Alec Pierce in this format. I know Indy's offense is a little bit muddled and not great to begin with, but in a format where you don't have to predict when his boom games are, I absolutely love Alec Pierce. All right, and then we are a pick away here in the 17th, and this was kind of fresh off the Noah Fant release news, so I'm very, very bullish on Elijah Arroyo being a guy. I think they would not have released Noah Fant. I know he was a big cap hit, so it makes sense generally. But even with already having Goddard and McBride, I was trying to get as many pieces of Elijah Arroyo as I could before his price increases. So definitely happy to grab him in the 17th. I think he's going to be an absolute guy. Obviously, with the Fant release, they're either expecting Barner or Arroyo to be very, very solid pieces for their offense. And I think Arroyo is going to be the guy. Being the second round pick, I really like Arroyo. Considering how much Seattle likes Arroyo, that means I really like Arroyo. So happy to get him before his price moved up. All right, and we are finally wrapping this draft up. We definitely are looking for a 6th running back here. Anyone who could potentially provide a late spark. The options when you get down to this range are not good. They're not sexy. You are absolutely taking shots in the dark on a dartboard. So I wouldn't blame you for trying out any of these guys. Potentially looking at Justice Hill, but he just seems like the same guy as Austin Eckler to me, where, even if an injury happens to the top guy, he's not going to become the sole, back in his offense. So I'm debating between the LA guys, end up settling on Jarquez Hunter. I don't feel strongly about one way or the other, Hunter or Corum. So we end up grabbing Jarquez Hunter, and that kind of wraps up the draft. Our receivers are Jefferson, Tyreek, Devontae. We have Trey McBride, Jalen Hurts, Mixon, Montgomery, Jaden Higgins, Jordan Mason, Luther Burden, McCarthy Tejedas, Trey Benson, Dallas Goedert, Austin Eckler, some late receivers, Demario Douglas, Alec Pierce, Elijah Arroyo, a sleeper tight end I love, and then Jarquez Hunter. A potential nothing, but also, he could take over the lead role if Kyron were to get hurt. So, honestly, overall, very, very solid squad. Definitely going to be light at running back when you wait till the 6th round to draft one. But I personally really, really like this team. Comment down below your thoughts on the squad and what pick were you when you drafted your favorite team. Comment down below if you kind of like reviewing these underdog squads after the fact. Let me know if you are enjoying these videos by hitting that like button and hitting the subscribe button. That really helps me out. I appreciate the support. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.